Giant cat abandoned at shelter. 3 hours later, the unthinkable. What would you do if you discovered that everything you'd been told about an animal was a lie? This is the story of a gentle giant who was thrown away like trash, only to become an internet sensation in less time than it takes to watch a movie. By the end, you'll never look at abandoned animals the same way again. The shelter doors had barely opened that morning when a man stepped through, his face twisted with tension, carrying what appeared to be the most massive creature the receptionist had ever seen. It was a cat, but not just any cat. This animal was colossal. His reddish-white fur literally spilled over the man's straining arms. Every movement seemed to demand considerable effort, and the cat, seemingly aware of the discomfort of the situation, remained strangely motionless, his gaze empty and defeated. Sarah, the employee on duty, immediately felt something was off. After 15 years working at the shelter, she had developed a sixth sense for detecting lies and unspoken truths. And now, even before the man had uttered a single word, her instinct was already screaming that this story wouldn't be as simple as he wanted to pretend. "I need to leave this cat with you," the man declared in a cold voice, heavily depositing the animal onto the counter. "His name is Gus, and he has serious behavioral problems." Sarah raised an eyebrow but remained silent, encouraging him to continue. "He attacks my grandchildren, the younger ones especially. The older kids, he leaves them alone, but the little ones?" The man shook his head with irritation. "He won't stop harassing them. We can't live like this anymore. It's dangerous." The word echoed through the reception hall like a verdict. Dangerous. Yet, as Sarah observed Gus, she saw only a visibly unhappy cat, dull coat, eyes downcast, as if crushed by an invisible weight. Nothing in his demeanor betrayed the slightest aggression. On the contrary, he seemed broken. "I see," Sarah murmured, choosing her words carefully. "And have you tried to understand why he was acting this way?" The man dismissed the question with an impatient gesture. "We don't have time for that. The kids are scared. That's all that matters." Without another glance at Gus, without even a final caress, the man turned on his heel and left the shelter. Sarah stood frozen for a few seconds, shocked by such coldness. Then she slowly leaned toward the giant cat, who seemed lost on the counter, too large for him, yet somehow too small. "Come on, big guy," she whispered gently, extending her hand. What happened next stunned her. The moment her fingers brushed Gus's fur, he rubbed against her palm and began to purr. A powerful, deep purr that made his entire massive body vibrate. His eyes, until then extinguished, suddenly lit up with infinite gentleness. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Aggressive? This cat? Very quickly, Gus's story pieced itself together like a painful puzzle. Adopted as a kitten, he had grown and grown and grown some more. No one in the family had anticipated he would become so imposing. When the grandchildren came to visit, terrified by this giant ball of fur, they would scream and run away the moment they spotted him. Gus, completely confused, couldn't understand why these little humans were so afraid. He just wanted to play, to be cuddled like before. So he followed them, increasingly anxious, desperately trying to understand what he had done wrong. The more the children screamed, the more Gus pursued them. A vicious circle of misunderstanding and fear that had resulted in only one conclusion in the family's mind. The cat had become aggressive. No one had taken the time to explain to the children that they needed to be gentle with animals. No one had tried to understand that Gus, beneath his pounds of muscle and fur, was just a gentle giant, completely overwhelmed by the chaos around him. So they had abandoned him, like a cumbersome object to be discarded. "Look at this!" exclaimed Michael, the shelter director, discovering Gus sprawled out full length on the cool tile floor. "I've never seen a cat this enormous in my entire career." The shelter team crowded around the animal, amazed. After weighing him, the verdict came down: 46 pounds. 46 pounds of Maine Coon cat, a breed renowned for its impressive size and affectionate temperament. "He's 9 years old," Sarah specified, consulting the hastily filled out file. "And look at him, he lets everyone pet him. He purrs as soon as you approach. This cat isn't aggressive at all." Gus, lying on his back, willingly let himself be belly rubbed, paws folded against him in a posture of total surrender. Every person who passed received an affectionate head bump, a sonorous purr. "We're going to find him a real family," Michael declared with determination, "a family that deserves him." The strategy was quickly put in place: a social media campaign. Photos of Gus in all his splendor, rolled into a ball like a huge living cushion, eyes half closed with happiness, or stretched out full length, occupying an entire couch by himself. The shots were published early in the afternoon. What happened next exceeded all their expectations. In less than 3 hours, Gus's photos exploded across the internet. Shares multiplied at a dizzying speed. 2 million people. 2 million eyes laid upon this giant cat with the broken past. Comments flooded in by the hundreds. "He's magnificent! How could anyone abandon an animal like that? I want to adopt him." And that wasn't all. Galvanized by Gus's story, dozens of people rushed to the shelter that very afternoon, not only to meet him, but also to discover all the other animals waiting for adoption. Gus had become, unknowingly, an ambassador for the animal welfare cause. Emma was absent-mindedly scrolling through her newsfeed when the photo appeared. She froze instantly. A huge, magnificent cat with eyes that seemed to plead, "Please love me." "Oh my God," she breathed, her heart squeezing. She read the story, tears in her eyes. Then she leaped from her couch and immediately called Daniel, her partner. "We need this cat." "Emma, we already have Felix and—" "Daniel, look at this photo." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then a resigned but amused sigh. "Okay, let's go. Now." The shelter was packed when they arrived. The parking lot overflowed. Entire families crowded the entrance. All for Gus. Emma felt her stomach tighten. What if they were too late? "Are you here for Gus?" asked a volunteer with a sympathetic smile. "Yes," Emma replied breathlessly. "There's a waiting list, but no one has adopted him yet. He's meeting families one by one." The wait was torture. Emma watched each family emerge from the meeting room. Some seemed disappointed. Others were already discussing adoption formalities with the staff. Her heart pounded wildly. "What if he doesn't choose us?" she murmured to Daniel. "He'll choose you," he replied, squeezing her hand. Finally, their turn arrived. Emma entered the room trembling and saw him. Gus was lying beneath a window, exhausted by this endless day of meetings. But when their eyes met, something passed between them. An inexplicable, instantaneous connection. Emma approached slowly, hand extended. Gus lifted his massive head, fixed her with his large golden eyes, then emitted the softest meow she had ever heard. He rubbed against her palm, purring like an engine. "Hello, you," she whispered, her throat tight with emotion. She began to pet him behind the ears. Gus immediately rolled onto his side, stretching out full length, demanding more attention. When she stopped, he pushed his head against her, insisting. Emma burst into laughter, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I already love you!" As if he understood, Gus stood up, walked straight to her, and came to rest heavily against her legs. His purr was so powerful that the entire room vibrated. Sarah, who had been watching the scene from the doorway, smiled. "I think he's made his choice." 3 hours. It had taken only 3 hours between abandonment and adoption. A record, a miracle. Emma and Daniel brought Gus home that very evening, hearts swelling with joy. But one worry remained. How would Felix, their cat, and Buddy, their small chihuahua, react? The answer didn't take long. When Gus first set his paws in his new home, Felix and Buddy rushed over, curious. Then they stopped dead, eyes wide, facing the giant. Felix backed up cautiously. Buddy, minuscule next to this mountain of fur, emitted an uncertain yap. "We'll take our time," Emma decided. For several days, introductions were made gently. Gus explored every corner of the house with touching wonder, as if finally discovering what it meant to have a real home. He slept a lot, catching up on years of stress and anxiety. Then, gradually, magic happened. Felix was the first to dare approach to play. Buddy followed, reassured by the giant's Olympian calm. Soon, the 3 animals formed an unlikely but inseparable trio, often found sleeping against each other in a sunbeam. "He really is a gentle giant," Emma would say while cuddling him. "I can carry him, squeeze him in my arms. He loves it. He's so affectionate." Months passed. Gus flourished like never before. All the stress, all the fear accumulated in his former family seemed to have melted away like snow in the sun. He had become the house mascot, the undisputed king of the couch, Felix's playmate, and Buddy's benevolent protector. Emma never stopped marveling. How could that family have seen him as a danger? Gus was gentleness incarnate. Never a scratch, never aggressive behavior, just infinite love to give. "You're our happiness," she would often murmur, burying her face in his thick fur. And Gus would purr, louder than ever, as if to say, "Finally, I'm home." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Would you have adopted a 46-pound cat that his family accused of being aggressive? Tell us in the comments below. And remember, sometimes the real story is very different from the one we're told. Behind every abandoned animal is a truth waiting to be discovered, and sometimes all they need is someone willing to see past the lies to the gentle soul within. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves and your animals.